Welcome to Like Mother, Like Murder. I am Rachel.
And I'm Heather.
We bring you the good,
the badass,
and the crime.
This is Like Mother, Like Murder.
Welcome back to another episode of Like Mother, Like Murder.
Like Mother, Like Murder.
Episode 83, baby.
Every time you say it, it gets like closer and closer to 100, and I'm like, oh, damn, that's got to be a big one.
It is. We are creeping up there, you guys. Episode 83. If you've been here the whole time, hell to the yes. If you're new here, welcome. We love having you guys. I know that we just recently got some more listeners from my local mommy page. You know, it was actually pretty awesome because someone had posted saying like, hey, moms, what podcast do you guys listen to? So, of course, I had to insert myself right into that conversation.
100%.
And I was like, well, you know, what had happened was we have a podcast. But then I also did shout out a bunch of other podcasts because I am a true podcast junkie through and through. So it's actually insane the amount of podcasts that I listen to. And after I'm on vacation, I come home and I feel so very behind and I have to just make up all of the lost time. Then I listen to the podcast on like 1.5 and everyone talks like this and it just goes. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they're going so fast. Okay. Anyways. Hi, Heather.
Hi. First of all, really, like, first and last of all, I just have to say, you guys, that I just spent the last literal hour venting to Rachel about my life. And not only do I now feel better having gotten some of it off of my chest, but I also feel validated because Rachel is just amazing. So I just want to say that I appreciate my co-host for many, many reasons. But having said that, we did literally just spend the last hour talking, even though I kept thinking in my head, but I really want to hear about this case because Rachel told me what case she's doing, and we obviously, like, it's in the title. So, like, I know what case she's doing, and I know, like, headlines and some blurbs about it, but I do not know all the details, and I'm actually very, very excited to hear about this case. But I just want to say thank you, Rachel, for being the best and for listening to me. And I'm excited to now listen to you.
You are welcome. I gave you 1 hour and now you give me 2 hours. Just kidding.
I know. No, I think it's going to be a long one. Because
it might be.
This is the kind of stuff I also have very strong feelings about.
We'll see if this turns into a two-parter or not because
yeah, for real.
I did think that it might be. But with that said, I mean, with what you just said, all we're going to take away from that conversation that you guys were not a part of is protect your peace. You guys, protect your peace. You work so hard to be where you're at and to do the things you're doing and to take care of yourself. Protect your peace. All right?
Thank you. Don't make me cry all over again.
Oh, don't cry with me all over again. Okay.
But, like,
I cry with you cry with me.
Yes.
You also have Bluey on your shirt, which makes me just cry because it's like,
I
Bluey.
slipped on my beans.
If you guys are not following along on YouTube, that is an option for you. So go and do that. Even though the comments that we were getting on YouTube are ridiculously hilarious because people hate us. It's so funny.
We should just be starting every episode with, like, the latest hateful comment we get.
We should. Let me start by saying this one. Are you ready?
I'm listening.
Insert, like, awesome music here. Frogs.
What?
Something about your frogs or something. Hold on. Now I need to go see exactly what it said. But it was like, you guys are frogs or something. And I was like, we're frogs? What does that even mean? Like, say something better.
I don't even know if I take that as an insult. That could just be like a straight-ass compliment.
Frogs.
Exactly. Frogs are badasses. Especially those itty-bitty ones that are like the most poisonous things on the planet. Okay.
Yeah, someone just said in one of our episode, frogs, and I just started laughing because I was like, what the freaking hell are you talking about? Okay, let me do one more since that one was...
this is like going to be my new favorite segment of our show.
Yeah, okay. This one's fun. Right into it means 12 minutes and 4 seconds for those listeners wanting to skip the preamble. Well, we're going to skip that preamble today, you guys, and we are going to get into it because this is going to be lengthy. Real quick, I am drinking wine. Cheers, boo.
Cheers it, cheers it, cheers it, cheers it.
You got some coffee?
Boop.
Cheers,
I got
cheers.
my latte.
Cheers, everybody.
Oops. But I just spilled
Look,
my pants.
instead of 12 minutes, we are starting at 5. Okay,
You're welcome.
You're welcome, everybody. Today, we are going to be talking about Ruby Franke. Ruby Franke, you guys. The majority of you have probably heard that name, seen that name, know that name, investigated that name, researched that name, looked into that name. Okay, and I'm going to tell you as much as I can on this podcast about who she is, what's going on, the charges, the arrests, and where she's headed. Mm-hmm. Right into a jail cell, all right, you guys? So, today we're going to be talking about Ruby Franke, a mom blogger, momfluencer, a YouTuber who December of last year, not even a month ago, was charged with 4 felony counts of aggravated child abuse. We're going to be getting into the who's, the what's, the where's, the when's, all of that stuff, as well as touching on her business partner, Jody Hildebrandt, who was also arrested and charged with child abuse counts because, my gosh, this entire situation is so messed up. It's ridiculously heartbreaking. So here we go. Strap in, friend. All right. A little background. She buckled up. Hopefully y'all did too. Little background to get us started. So Ruby Franke, Ruby and Kevin Franke, a couple, they got married. They started having children in 2003. They had 6 children together. Okay. 6 little kiddos. And flash forward a few years, a few as in many, to 2015, Ruby and Kevin decide to start a YouTube channel together. And together is the couple themselves with their 6 children. And this YouTube channel was called 8 Passengers.
Okay.
It was a personal vlog on the lives of the couple and their 6 children. This channel and therefore the family did really well for themselves. Ruby was definitely the one who was running the show. The channel at its peak high had over 2 million subscribers. And in the beginning, 2 million subscribers. I don't know if it was 2.3 or 2.8.
That's still a lot.
Either way, it's crazy numbers right there. Who were just logging on to watch this family live their life. In the beginning, they were described as wholesome in a family living their day-to-day life, cooking, cleaning, parenting, all of that. Over the years, the viewers went from watching and thinking it was a loving family living their everyday life to the viewers thinking less of Ruby and her unconventional ways. Mm-hmm. To them actually believing the channel was then, and I quote, cult-like. Mm-hmm. Okay, so this family, they were Mormon. They were a part of the LDS community. They had their Mormon faith, and we are going to get into in this episode so many things about parenting and punishment and I guess where the line from punishment meets abuse. Okay?
Right.
And that could be a hard line because some people see things, right, very differently and to some people they're like, no, that's not. And to other people, it's like, what you're doing is absolutely 100% abuse.
Right.
Either way, okay? So, 8 Passengers was the name of the YouTube channel, which it's been taken down so far, okay? So, if you look into these things, there will no longer be, the channel is no longer up. You can find clips, you can find videos from the channel itself, but there's no longer the actual channel for a good reason. Let's just start running. Right off the bat. Here is why Ruby says the channel was canceled. The reason we got canceled was because I was demonstrating, as I have done from day one, what a responsible mother looks like. She said this during a 2-hour Zoom call, okay? And it scared the living bejesus out of the kids who do not want to be held accountable. So that is the motive for the hate being thrown at me. Ooh. I'm the antidote to their acting out, and they know it. Okay?
Wow. Okay.
Already not a good look, right?
Yeah, no.
Don't worry, I'm gonna paint the picture.
Oh, Lord.
And even a dimmer light. I don't know how to explain that. Just even more ugly than it already is. I want to reiterate the fact that I said cult-like, right? What we get into mainly, we discussed Ruby Franke recently, and her most recent business partner is Jody Hildebrandt. And they have so Jody Hildebrandt is the founder of an organization called Connections, and that is what I'm referring to when I say cult-like. It's my opinion. You're free to form your own opinion, right? And as I go through everything, or if you decide to research yourself, which I do encourage for any of these things, if you're seeking more answers, go out, look for them, search for them yourselves. But you'll see. All right, we're going to get into there. Now, if you listen to Like Mother, Like Murder, I am the CEO of Going Out of Order. When I get really into a case, my brain just goes all over the place because it's so true. I've dived so deeply, right, that it takes over my brain completely. I've been telling Heather about this case for probably a couple months. I mean, Jody was arrested back. Ruby and Jody were arrested back in August of last year. So this has been something I have been following for a while, and finally we are here. Either way, I get enraged and just start spewing things out, and sometimes that's not always the best way to do it. So I'm going to do my best for you guys to try to stay, in order, but no promises, because I kind of like you guys. So I'm going to try, but we'll see how that goes. So as I talk about this, grab a blanket, grab a tissue if you need it, take a shot, take a Xanax, whatever it is to soothe your mommy loving hearts, because I'm going to be talking about mental, social, emotional, and physical abuse. And these are usually the cases that tear me apart inside. Right. And I think that that's why ultimately it takes me so long to even begin to talking about something along these lines, because they kill me. Okay?
Right.
You got anything to say as of right now, or are you just over there?
I'm just buckled in and taking my deep breaths.
Buckled in. Mm-hmm. All right. Ultimately, the reason we are talking about Ruby Franke in the first place is that Ruby Franke was arrested last year on aggravated child assault charges, and in December of 2023, she pled guilty to 4 felony counts of aggravated child abuse. Yes, this momfluencer, mom vlogger, YouTuber person who is hyping herself up about being the antidote to their acting out was arrested and charged. So let's go back in time a little bit and discuss some of the very controversial and just questionable things that were happening on this channel, 8 Passengers.
Okay.
Over the course of 8 Passengers being on YouTube, many parents watched the channel. Like I said earlier, this channel was extremely popular, and maybe that was because of the, picturesque lifestyle that was being painted. So many times you see pictures on Instagram or TikTok or whatever you're looking at, and it's like, ooh, that looks beautiful. Follow, Yeah. And I assume it was along those lines. Maybe it was because of how the Franke family portrayed themselves. Maybe it was the bits of drama that people assumed were for the channel, for the content. But over time, this content became something of a concern to many viewers. Something that is talked about greatly is the unconventional parenting that was happening on the 8 Passengers YouTube channel. Things that you don't pick up the phone and immediately call CPS about, but you start thinking to yourself, is something more going on here?
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that. This mom's out of her mind. But was it to the point of abuse, right? Like, was it to the point where you can say, like, she is definitely abusing her child, or is it to the point where I know I wouldn't do that?
Right.
It's hard, right? Like, that part to me.
It's a gray, like, area for a lot of people.
Right. That's a great way to explain it. And I couldn't think of how to say that, but you're right there. Thank you.
Because I got you.
Thank you, girl. But at this point, to so many viewers, it was. And the people were no longer sitting quiet. Backdating to summer of 2020, Ruby and her family were home when a knock on the door surprised the family. What was even more surprising was the fact that two female officers, were standing at the door and investigating child abuse and child neglect complaints. They asked to come in, and of course, Ruby lets them in, and for the next few hours, they observe. Ruby, how she would explain this situation later on is pretty much, they were called, they came to do their job, and then while they were there, they actually liked how I parented so much that they were asking for tips by the time they were done and before they left. That's how she sees this situation, is that they saw how good of a parent she was, that they were asking her for advice on parenting.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. And she is, this is stuff she would show to the world.
Yeah.
Her talking about this. Of course, no one knows who made this specific call out of the 2 million subscribers. But either way, the point I'm trying to make is people were worried then in the summer of 2020. Okay? Here's some reasons why. A lot has came out and is in the forefront of articles and videos in the media right now because of everything that, comes along with this case. But let me just explain and describe some of the things that were happening that got people worried, that got them questioning, right? And got them to the point of making these phone calls.
Right. To
actually watch a video online and say, I don't like that.
Right.
I got to call this in. Okay? There's no particular order here. I'm not going in order, date-wise. It's just for you to understand a bit of what was going on that led the people to making these reports of what they were viewing. Heather. Yeah. We're going to get into it, okay?
Okay.
So, I'm
kind of holding my breath.
Okay. I'm going to make the choice to not name any of the children. I made that choice when I was writing this. They're children. I don't need to say their names. You can look them up. They're all over the internet everywhere if you need to. So as I talk about the kids, I will give ages. And you got to understand that these ages range because this is from 2015 to the current, right? So when I talk about someone, maybe I'll say the youngest daughter or the oldest son or however. Just know that all of this is happening within the home to these children, and there it is. So Ruby's 6-year-old at the time had forgot her lunch at home, okay? The teacher reaches out to Ruby and tells her, hey, your daughter forgot her lunch. Can you bring her some lunch? Ruby says no. It is the 6-year-old's responsibility to make sure that she has her lunch and to take it with her to school. And not only does she say no, she tells the teacher that she won't be bringing it to her, right, so that she could learn her lesson. But on the channel, there is a clip of Ruby talking about this situation and laughing in the camera, saying that she hopes that none of the adults or children feel bad for her because if someone shares their food with her at school, she won't be able to learn her lesson. Okay? So now her daughter is going to be hungry the entire day. And not only hungry, the mother is actually hoping no one helps her so that she could learn her lesson. Okay? That's just one thing. Same child. Ruby holds her stuffed animal in front of her and tells her that if she, and I don't know the extent of what the daughter was cutting, okay, but apparently this young daughter is in the home and cutting things with scissors. Okay, where are you? Why is your daughter just cutting with scissors? Maybe pay more attention. Anyways, she in this video, because these are things that she broadcasted to the world.
Yeah.
She wanted people to take this form of parenting advice, okay? She holds up this stuffed animal. She says, if you cut anything else in this home, I'm going to cut this animal's head off. And the daughter just starts bawling. It is so sad.
That's like violent. Like I'm sorry. Like I understand like rationally as an adult, like I know that stuffed animals are obviously like they're not like they're just material or object, whatever, right? Exactly. But to kids, like those animals are
everything.
They're everything.
Right. I'm trying to think of like no, I don't want to try to think of anything that don't cut your kids' stuffed animals off. I mean, put the scissors away.
Yeah.
I don't know. Who am I? I don't have parenting advice. Put the scissors away or watch your kid. I don't know. So again, with the food, her youngest son had also forgot his lunch on a different occasion. And she said the same thing. And she said, if someone doesn't share with you at school, I guess you'll be hungry. Right. So apparently this whole like withholding food for them to learn a lesson was something
that's not okay.
Happened often. And it was there's clips of her, there's a clip of her from her channel where they had to do their chores and she's laughing in this video saying, oh, they're starving, but they don't get to eat until their chores are done, stuff like that. There's times that she threatens them, oh, you're wrestling in the house. If you wrestle again in my house, you're going to go to bed with no dinner. And it's like,
that's just heartbreaking, especially like, I mean, food, like if you think about like, I can't remember the name of it, but like the pyramid, right? Of like things like to be like the bottom of that pyramid, like everything is based off of having like a safe place to be and food and water. Like that's the base physical like stuff you need. And then on top of that, you build all of your, emotional, I don't remember what it's called, right?
No, it's
But
okay.
It's like you can't, that's not okay. Like you're taking away your child's like basic, needs for things that are not basic. Right? That like learning, like cutting things with scissors. That's material. Like that's unless like they're not like cutting like they're not like cutting each other. Like you're taking away your child's like to eat because they're so that they can do chores. Again, that's not like a basic need. Like what are you doing?
Yeah, I don't know.
Taking away something so basic.
It's so hard because obviously like there's the basic needs of survival and basic needs like what you're supposed to do as a parent. And yes, teaching your children lessons and helping them grow and guiding them to be efficient and effective and to learn the ways, right? Like,
sure.
I'm not taking that away. And maybe ultimately that was not trying to give her any benefit of the doubt, but it's like, maybe that was ultimately what you were trying to do.
Yeah.
Right?
It's still your responsibility as a parent to teach your children responsibility and, and lessons and that kind of thing. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it is one of those things where, so I'll circle back to this so many times when people see this. Would you report that right away? I probably wouldn't have reported that right away because it's one of those things. I've told my daughter, she's sitting there at the table. She's not hungry. All right. Well, if you do get hungry, this will be here.
Right.
But it's not like you're going to get something else before you go to bed. Yeah. So you will go to bed hungry because guess what? I have
But you gave her the option. Exactly. You said, here's the food. Your choice is not to eat it. I'm going to explain to you that you're going to go to bed hungry, but your choice right now is not to eat it. And the fact that your daughter is old enough to to make that connection, right? It's not like she's like a baby that doesn't understand hunger comes from not eating.
We don't need to get into my parenting or anyone else's. Let's try as hard as we can to stay strictly on this because it is so hard. None of us know what we're doing.
Yo.
Right? None of us know what we're doing.
So true.
But I know what I'm not going to do.
Right.
And there's things in here that I know that I'm not going to do.
Yes.
That's all
That's a good way to put it.
Okay?
That's a very good way to put it.
All right. Her daughter had an accident in the middle of the night. And instead of helping her by remaking the bed and tucking her back in, she made her go to the bathroom and sleep on the floor until the next day.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, don't wet your bed, apparently. Okay?
Are you fucking kidding me?
I'm not. And it wasn't even like a she wet her bed and maybe you tell her you shouldn't have done that. I mean, this, yeah.
Mm-hmm. How old was this daughter?
It was the youngest daughter. I don't know how old she was when this exactly happened. But it doesn't matter how old she is. You help and you nurture and you just be there. I don't know. So one of the sons, the oldest son, lost his bedroom. Okay? He lost his privilege to his bedroom, and he had to sleep on a beanbag in the living room. Real quick, I'll ask you, how long do you think this punishment lasted?
I want to say, 2 days. But my guess is that's not true.
No. It ended up being for nearly 7 months. When this was brought up it was actually brought up on the channel. He was actually unclear of the reason why he lost his bedroom, which is a whole nother situation.
Which makes the punishment completely pointless.
He said maybe it was because he played a prank on his brother. This prank was that he woke up his brother and told him that they were going to Disneyland. He had his brother pack and then comes to find out he was joking. Okay? Yeah, that's rough. That's some brother shit.
That's some sibling shit,
okay? I'm
real.
sure the kid was upset as hell, okay? Maybe don't do that.
Yeah.
I don't see how
that's not a
long-term
punishment that fits the crime, though.
No.
Not at all.
And I will say that Ruby, she ends up saying that wasn't the reason, which also makes me question how you said, because it's like, if you don't know what the punishment is for, how are you learning from it, right?
It's not, yeah.
So she said that the actual reason is because he hung his brother from a basketball court and pointed a BB gun at him, which is definitely more punishable in my opinion.
Yeah, that's not okay for sure.
Don't do that. But again, I mean, the BB gun, put that down. Also, where were you? Where were you?
I mean, it's not like that could happen in 2 seconds flat. There was things leading up to this thing. Also, why do you have the BB? Take the fucking BB gun away. That. There you go.
I got a basketball court right there in my backyard, and it's one of those things where I'm just like, first of all, how do you get a kid up there? It must have been one of those smaller ones, because if I ever walked out there, I would laugh if I walked out there and I saw Kenzie hanging from
how the hell did you get up there?
Hey, what you doing? She would probably climb up there and probably get stuck on her own.
Yeah.
But so, I mean, I guess there is a difference of, and I hate making that joke along those lines because, that's not okay. Don't do that. There is this sibling taunting and frustration and just playfulness and maybe out of aggravation. Maybe it was, right? But if that's the punishment, make that known.
But this is also the thing. The fact that he didn't know it was for that, which, that's definitely a more serious thing than playing a prank on your brother. And so the fact that he didn't know, though, and the fact that he's like, I'm not sure what it was, and he accounted it to something minor?
Yeah.
As opposed to, in my book, something way more major? Clearly, the crime and, the punishment and the discipline is not, there's no rhyme or reason to it.
Right. And maybe that's one of those things where whatever reaction he was given based on the Disneyland thing was bigger than the reaction from, the basketball court one. So I don't know.
Exactly.
Okay. This same child, the oldest son, he was actually sent to a wilderness camp which when you look into it, it's a camp for troubled youth. Okay. It's called the Anasazi Wilderness Camp. I did look it up. Okay. But here's the thing. I would have loved to go to camp like that. Okay. But if it's not something that you wanted, not something that you're asking for, or, whatever, it's a whole different situation. Okay.
Right.
Like if you're sending your kids off to camp, which so many families are like, you're going to summer camp, you're going to this kind of camp, whatever. Okay, that's fine. But this is different because it's a minimum stay.
Yeah.
Troubled youth camp. There's more going on to that, right? So it's not just a summer camp that you're going. It was obviously for, and I did look this camp up. Okay. And it's like, it was for kids who have anxiety, who have been through traumatic experience, who have fear or pain or social and emotional things that they need to work on. Okay. So apparently, whether or not he actually did have these things going on, or they just thought he did based on the fact that whatever they were going through in life. Anyways, he goes to this camp. But one of the things from the website that I wanted to point out is that it's for the children and the parents. So why, if it's for the children and the parents, why did he go and Ruby and Kevin, like one of them did not go with him, I guess, is like something that really bothers me. Because in my opinion, if you're sending your kid to learn and to grow, if they're going through something, maybe you need to go learn and grow.
You need to be part of the
situation
journey
as well.
For sure.
Exactly. Just a thought. All right. Another thing in one of the videos. Ruby brings in a trash bag full of the kids' belongings, okay? She pretty much collected things and had told the kids that the way to get them back was they had to work for them. Okay. Again, I want to bring up life lessons and learning and growing and those kind of things. There's a time and a place. Yeah. There's a way to do these things, right? Maybe that concept seems cool to you. I'm going to get this thing and let's see how you can earn it back. Okay, whatever. Her theory or messed up thought process was about teaching them the life lessons and having to work for the things. Well, it's a weird way to go about that life lesson when the things that you're holding on to were things that they had already had, but also in that bag was one of the kids' homework that he had already done that day. So she's wagering with them, saying that they have to pay for these items, and if they can't pay, they have to work or work for them to pay off that payment, right, by doing chores. Yet that homework that had already been completed was in there. And that's insane to me.
I'm sorry. This, it doesn't make any sense.
It's for the views. Yeah.
It's not logical. This is not teaching your kid anything. Like, you're being a fucking bully.
Right. Yeah,
like, absolutely. So, like, so when I was, like, 10, I told my dad, I said, I want a TV in my room. Mm-hmm. And he said, do your chores, make some money, you come up with half, I'll pay for your other half.
That's beautiful.
Tell me I was so freaking excited.
You're like,
and I had that same little TV, like those literal 12-inch boxes.
Yes.
Hell yeah. Rocked that shit all the way up until I was like 17, and then I finally got a new one before I was about to go to college. But like, yeah, rock that shit, and I get it. Yeah. I get it. And like another thing, I had to earn back, me and my brother, we got in a fight. He tried to storm into my room, and we broke the door because I locked it, and I was pushing it, and he was pushing it. Fucking door broke. So my dad said, well, guess Heather won't have a door until both of you guys do enough chores, make enough allowance. It's not just my responsibility because obviously my brother helped me break it. Mm-hmm, thank you, Brian. Until both of us had made enough money to pay it back. Now, what did my dad do? He went out and bought a door. I was a teenager. I needed a door. He bought a door, put it on my thing, and he said, y'all owe me however much it was, $100. And until you guys have paid that back to me, you will not be getting your regular allowance that you get for your chores. Lesson learned. You break shit, you buy shit.
See, and that's one of those things where it's not bad to teach your children
100%.
lessons. It's not that that's the point we're trying to make.
Yeah.
But it's not okay to take the basic necessities of life away from your child to teach that lesson.
Especially when it doesn't make sense. I mean, your child worked to complete their homework.
Yeah.
They worked for that. And now you're taking it back and saying they need to earn it all over again? What is that?
Insane. I don't like it.
Me neither.
I don't like it. All right. So those are just a few things that I wanted to bring out and point out that are kind of circulating right now, right? Because this case is in the forefront of whenever you're looking up anything mom related, guess what? There it is.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's so hard because how many of those things would you have seen and said, that's child abuse, I need to call that in. Yeah. I might not have seen any of that and said that's child abuse. Maybe the food situation is messed up.
Yeah.
Maybe certain things are messed up, right? But it's like,
but you also,
you do something really messed up and it's not the way that I would do it, but is it to the point of child abuse?
Right. And also, how do you know this is fucking YouTube?
That they're not eating after the camera goes off?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't know.
It is. It's hard, but that's, it's hard because in so many of our episodes, we say it a million times. If you see something, say something.
Right.
And how many people, I'm sure, so many people did see these things that were happening and people did. I'm going to get into the fact that people did report it.
Right,
okay?
obviously.
And obviously it already happened too.
House.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Obviously, I've already touched on that as well. But it's the fact that so many people did, but I'm sure so many people saw things and maybe they felt that regret after what I'm about to talk to as well because they saw it and maybe they didn't say something.
Right.
And I guess the only point I'm trying to make in this, and I'm nobody over here, is don't beat yourself up too much because it's the fact that those things that you saw during that time period, you really didn't know.
Right.
Okay? But what I'm about to get into now is when 100% you make that call.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
That's a little trigger warning. Okay?
Okay.
So, now I'm going to talk to you guys about August 30th of 2023. August 30th, there was a knock on the door of an Ivins, Utah home. When the man answered the door, Ruby's 12-year-old son was standing there seeking help. I know that this is not always the easiest part, Heather, but if you could help me, I would really appreciate it. If you could read this 911 call with me for everyone to hear. You can be the dispatcher, and I will be the caller and the 12-year-old boy.
Okay, here we go. The address of your emergency?
That part was redacted.
Okay, and the phone number you're calling from?
That was also redacted.
Tell me exactly what's happened.
I just had a 12-year-old boy show up here at my front door asking for help. And he said he just came from a neighbor's house, and we know there's been problems at this neighbor's house. He's emaciated. He's got tape around his legs. He's hungry, and he's thirsty.
Okay, is your door locked?
No, I'm sitting outside with him on the front patio.
Okay.
And he asked us to call the police, so he's very afraid.
What's his name?
What's your name? And the boy says his name. It was redacted. And he's 12 years old. Yes.
Okay, and can you ask him his date of birth?
Can you tell me your birthday? That was also redacted.
Okay, and are the neighbors out of their home, or is anybody looking for him that you can see?
No, our homes are far enough away. I'm not sure. How did you get out of the house?
He says he just left. Oh, sorry, that's you.
He says he just left through the porch at the neighbor's house. Her name is Jody Hildebrandt, and she lives 2 doors up the street. out here. So the caller's, I'm assuming wife is also in this call as well. There's a voice in the background. Out here in Kayenta, the homes are far apart. Yeah, out here in Kayenta, the houses are far apart. So he walked just under a block to get to our house. He rang my doorbell and asked me to call the police.
Does he seem to be under the influence of drugs or alcohol?
I don't think so, but he's very thirsty and,
does he need an ambulance?
I don't think he needs an ambulance. I'll let the cops decide that. But his ankles are taped up and he won't tell us why. He has duct tape around each ankle. Yeah, there's sores around them. I think it's a good chance he also has them around his ankles. I mean, his wrists as well. Okay, this boy this kid has obviously been, I think he's been detained. He's obviously covered in wounds.
Okay, we'll get the paramedics headed over that way, okay?
Okay, that's a good idea too.
Let's see. Has he told you where his mom or dad are?
I haven't asked him that. Yeah. Do you know where your mommy... There's talking. I'm sure that doesn't matter, son. Do you know where your mom and dad are? The boy says, well, actually, I don't know where my mom is, but I do know where my dad is. He's not here, nowhere near here. The caller said, okay, yeah, he doesn't seem to, but he knows where his mom is, but
he doesn't know where his dad is.
That's correct.
Is his mom home?
He says he doesn't live around here. He just says he doesn't live around here.
Okay, is his mom in the area?
Is your mom around here? Have you seen her lately? The boy says nope. He doesn't know where she is right now.
Does he know his mom's name?
What's your mom's name? Ruby Franke? Ruby Franke is his mom's name.
Okay, how do you spell the last name?
Franke. The caller again spells it out. Franke.
Okay, and does she live in the area?
No, I'm not sure where she lives. He's trying to help us, but he's...
Okay, we don't want to stress him out too much. The officers will go over all these questions with him anyway. I just want to stay on the phone with you until we get some help there, okay?
Yeah.
What's your name?
That was redacted.
Can you ask him if any other children were in the home he came from?
Okay. Was there any other kids at Jody's house? He says the names were redacted. Anybody else? No, they were redacted. The boy asks, what day is it today? Yeah, this is the 29th of August.
It'd be the 30th of August.
They're 10 and 14, and they're still at the house.
Are they tied up as well?
What's the deal with the redacted names? Are they being held? Do they have wounds on them as well? Nothing bad's going on with them. The caller says, okay. The boy says, it's just me. Okay, so they're able to walk around the house and everything. The boy says, yes. Well, okay. He says everything's fine with them. Grain of salt.
Okay.
He says what happened to him is his fault.
They're coming to you as quickly as they can, okay?
Okay, yeah.
Really, I just want to make sure.
He's fine. I've got him sitting here. He's got his water and giving him something to eat because he's hungry and he's here in stocking feet. So he escaped.
I'm glad he was able to make it to you.
They're on their way.
Where he could be safe. They should just be pulling up now. Let me know when they're with you, okay?
Will do. All right. I hear a car, but they're not coming in the driveway.
Okay.
You did good. Enjoy the banana, okay? You did the right thing.
He arrived 30 seconds ago. He may be waiting for his partner. I'm not sure.
Is Jody up there right now? This is someone talking in the background asking if Jody's there. Okay, Jody Hildebrandt is up there right now.
Okay.
So she may come looking for him here soon, but he's not going to obviously. All right, we need the cops as soon as possible.
I'm just asking where he is now.
Yeah, she's a bad lady. I didn't realize how bad.
Okay, let's see. I'm just asking where he is. It sounds like he's making a phone call real quick to a sergeant. He's going to head up.
Okay, all right. Well, if we have to take him inside the house, we will. We're sitting outside right now because we had chairs out here and it was convenient.
That's okay. If anything, he's sitting out down your driveway and keeping an eye on the house. So if that's where you feel safe, if that's where the child feels safe, let's just stay where you're at.
Yeah, I think we're doing, yes.
Does he have anything with him?
No, he's wearing a long sleeve shirt and shorts. It's way too big for him.
Can you tell me what color the shirt and shorts are?
Okay, the ambulance is here.
Okay.
So.
Are they with you?
No, they're just now getting out of the truck, okay?
Okay, I'll go ahead and I'll let you go then. You did a great job.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, bye.
Boo.
I almost started crying.
I know. All right, so let's discuss that for a minute. Sorry, I know you don't like to listen to them. That was probably not easy to read as well. So, ultimately, what happens is this 12-year-old boy sneaks away from this home, escapes from this home, goes from what seems to be a little bit of a distance, right? Because he says they're not close neighbors. It's at least 2 doors down.
Right.
And he's emaciated. He's hungry. He's thirsty. He has duct tape around his ankles and his wrists. He has wounds around those duct taped areas, and he's seeking help, and he's telling them that there's 2 other children in the home as well. He needs the police called. This guy is calling. This guy, I love him.
Yeah.
Because he's doing everything to try to say this as gently as possible.
Right, because, like, the kid's right there, so he's not trying to, like, freak the kid out by, like, saying it.
I was trying not to cry when the way that he's trying to say that, it seemed like he was being held or detained. When he gets to the word detained, you can tell that he was just stuttering over his words to try to put it as gently as he possibly can for this boy. And I had to look up what did it say? Stocking feet?
Yeah.
Which just meant that he was only in socks.
Yeah, he didn't have shoes on.
And he just took off. Okay, so this boy escaped this home.
When he said, like, he said something like, oh, they're okay. The reason, like, like, I did something, like, it was my fault. Like, you're like, oh, what the fuck?
And we get into why he truly did believe that it was his fault and that he deserved what was happening to him. And that's why when I say cult-like, those are the things, when you push these things onto other people.
Right.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
So,
big time.
So after this call, they did go to the house to do a search. Although the 12-year-old son said that 2 of their siblings were at the house, only 1 was there. It was the youngest daughter, and she was also taken to the hospital to be treated because she was also in an emaciated state, and she also had wounds from duct tape and restraints around her wrists and ankles as well. August 30th, Ruby was arrested. But not only was Ruby arrested, Jody Hildebrandt was arrested as well. August 30th, when the son walked to the neighbor's house. So they were not at their home. They were not at their residence. They were staying at their mom's friend and business partner home in Ivins, Utah. And when I say staying, it was more like being held. Ruby was away doing business and Kevin was elsewhere, which we will get to, but all in all, they were at Jody's house because Jody was supposed to be taking care of them, but that is not what was happening. Here's the thing. People of the community or the neighborhood of both Ruby Franke's home and Jody Hildebrandt's home came forward to make statements, and they are upset, okay? The community members in both neighborhoods have came forward trying to seek help for these children on numerous occasions, and yet nothing had happened. So in Ruby's neighborhood, people came forward saying that they have reported to officials that it didn't seem like the children were in school, and that it seemed like the children were being left home alone for days at times. A male neighbor recalled how Franke's youngest daughter, who at the time was about 10 years old, would wander the neighborhood while her mother was away for prolonged periods after she kicked Kevin Franke out of the house. The young daughter would look for companions in the community, the neighbor said. The neighbor said did not seem like she was attending school, like I said. He said she would just knock on your door and say, "Hi, can your kids come play?" And we're like, "Well, they're at school. They won't be home for like 3 or 4 hours." And she would say, "I'll wait." He added, "She's like this lost child." Neighbors also commented that it seemed like the kids would be home alone a lot, not just for hours, but for days at a time. Now, in Jody Hildebrandt's neighborhood, people in the community came forward because they said they had seen children working outside of Jody's home, doing yard work in the extreme heat for long periods of time. And it wasn't normal to see kids there in the first place. But even more than that, you don't go out there and work in the heat willingly when it's that fucking hot.
Right.
Okay. Everyone go take a minute to look up Jody Hildebrandt's house and what it looks like. I'll give you 5 seconds. If you're on YouTube, it is posted right now. Her house looks, in my opinion, kind of like a bunker.
Yeah, for
Like,
sure.
That's what it looks like. But so they're out there in the extreme heat having to do yard work out there, which, yeah, we'll get into. All right. Now, another person who came forward to comment on the situation was Ruby Franke's oldest daughter. She had separated herself from her immediate family, and she came forward expressing concern for her siblings. She actually reported abuse when she knew her siblings were being left home alone for periods of time. Before she had distanced herself, she said that things were okay. Things weren't as bad until Ruby became a life coach with something called Connections. It wasn't until she started her own journey with Jody Hildebrandt and their YouTube channel, and it's a YouTube channel and a podcast called Moms of Truth, where things got really bad and there was no going back. So Ruby had, lost her 8 Passengers channel. She's trying to figure out something else to do. She finds this woman, Jody Hildebrandt, and this group, this thing called Connections, and she wants to be a part of it. And that is when this oldest daughter said that things took, I guess, the drastic change. Okay. So why her? Why Hildebrandt, right? So after she had lost her YouTube channel, she's looking for something else. Jody is or was a therapist, and she was the founder of Connections, which is spelled Connextions, by the way. It's a place where you would transform your life with Jody. You go to the website, you can choose transform your life, okay? She's a life coach, she's a therapist, she's all of these things. Whether you had fear or pain or anxiety or trauma, she said she had something that she could help you to reframe your life. And so then Ruby starts working with her. They become partners on this, Ruby. So she joined Connections, and Ruby Franke becomes a life coach. She's a certified mental fitness trainer. She does social media platforms and also a podcast on her own about empowering parents and children to live in their truth. And then she also does the podcast with Jody Hildebrandt.
Okay.
Well. So, this truth is coming from Jody, and apparently her ways about going and finding their truth and living in their truth is absolutely freaking mind-blowing. So, Jody could have an entire episode on herself, and if you guys want that, I can bring that. You let me know. I could dive into her. I just want to touch on a few things because this episode, again, it isn't about her.
Right.
She definitely needs to be talked about in relation to Ruby in this case specifically, especially the fact that she was arrested and charged with things that happened, which we will get into. But so one of the things is in Ruby's life, it wasn't only a business partner situation. She was actually seeking her guidance in her marriage. So Ruby and Kevin were married when Jody came into the picture. And I'm not saying Ruby and Kevin didn't have issues, right? Maybe they did. There's a lot people will leave off camera, which is actually surprising when you think about the amount of things that they left on camera. But Ruby and Kevin ended up separating, kind of by the request or guidance of Jody. because they needed to work on themselves. Or, well, more so, Kevin needed to do some work, and this was by Ruby's request based on Jody telling her that this is what she needed to do. Okay. So Kevin, he didn't want this in the beginning. He said he wanted to stay and work on things, but he ended up moving into his own place for the time being. Mm-hmm. When he moved into his own place, he had to live with someone called a minder. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
Yeah. Oh, I was like, your face says yes.
I mean, I can guess what it is, but it's like, for real?
For real. So Jody said that he had to have someone there to pretty much, you know, watch and observe his life and make sure he was following suit, I guess. Well, with this agreement or whatever the hell you would call this, he was cut off from communication with all of his kids, his family, pretty much everyone. I swear all of this is fucking insane to me. But it does make me question the amount of control that Jody had as a person. You know those people who can talk you into anything. Right? They just, those narcissistic, sick people that and I say it here, I don't believe in the brainwashing portion of what, because Ruby does come out in her sentencing when she's in court about, you know, that she was brainwashed by Jody. And I do believe in a sense that there is a little bit of having her values and her beliefs and her ways being forced upon her. But at the same time, with what we know from her past as well, I do not want to give all of that to someone else.
There was already something there that wasn't okay in Ruby. And when she got in with Jody, Jody just allowed that part to flourish even more.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. It's messed up. It's freaking messed up. So Jody was using her control to do this to people, Kevin included, which I just had to touch on that because the first thing when I had heard, you know, about this 12-year-old boy walking and reading the article and the situation, and then this mom being taken in and seeing the picture of the family, and the first thing was like, well, where's your dad? Like, why are you with this person in the first place? And then to know that this person sent the dad away to live with a minder, and then all of a sudden this is happening. Yeah. It's absolutely insane. And he does, I don't know what to say about him, because it's like he, you know, I could say maintains his innocence. It's like, he was a part of the channel. He was part of their parenting ways and stuff like that. But he was gone for the majority of the stuff that I'm about. Got insane. He wasn't there for what I'm about to tell you. Okay. Yeah. But that was the first thing that came to my mind was like, where's he at? And so, and I will add, so Kevin has filed divorce against Ruby, which I'm glad that that's happened. Yeah. And we will see. Seems like it's
a necessity there.
Necessity. So, again and again and again, which I will pour myself a glass as I talk about this, you know, we talk over and over and over and over and over and over on this podcast about if you see something, say something. And this is one of those situations that the more I look into it, the more I read, the more videos I watch, I am at a loss. The 8 Passengers YouTube channel had over 2 million subscribers. Many people sat back and watched and questioned things. And maybe there were even people watching that thought, I might do the same thing in certain situations. Not saying that it's right, but trying to point out the fact that maybe in the beginning, it was one of those things that was like, you truly didn't know, right? You didn't know if it was to the extreme of abuse. Like Heather said earlier, maybe those cameras went off and you did feed your kid. Maybe you saw something and you didn't say something. And then there were all of the people who came forward, especially after the charges that took place, from immediate family members, other family members, neighbors, viewers, whoever, that did come forward, that filed reports, and yet nothing happened until a 12-year-old boy escaped out of a window and ran for his life trying to seek help. I'm not sure exactly how to help. Not sure how to advocate for these families, for these children, for these people in need. But I think that we need to keep these conversations going.
For sure.
We need to talk about them and bring them to light and make more people aware of things that are happening all over the place. And hopefully with those conversations, some help can come out of it.
For sure.
Now, before I wrap up, I'm going to read you all a part of the document that explains Ruby Franke's counts from her plea agreement. This can be extremely hard to hear, so I wanted to just give you a quick warning. I'm
going to go ahead and log off. I'll be back in 3 minutes when you're done. I'm joking.
10 minutes.
Okay.
Because as of right now, you don't... Yes, you know that something awful happened.
Right.
Because this child, 2 children, were tied with duct tape, wounds around the duct tape, which means they were not new.
Right. They'd been there for a while, yeah.
Emaciated, which means you are malnourished. You are thirsty and hungry for a long period of time. Yeah. It's not a day. It's not I didn't put my kids down with no supper.
Right.
It is overtime. So I went through all of that, and those are things that happened, but here is why they are locked up. Both of them. Franke admitted to physically torturing her children in a multitude of ways, which at a point included kicking them while she was wearing boots, holding the victim's head underwater, and cutting off the children's oxygen supply by using her hands to cover their mouths and noses.
What the fuck?
The 2 victims were first forced to do physical tasks for hours and days at a time, doing tasks like carrying boxes full of books up and down stairs and working outside in desert climate. Eventually, the victim was forced to do outside labor without shoes and in the summer heat. He was forced to stand in the direct sunlight for several days. He was forced to remain outside at all hours of the day and night for extended periods of time, resulting in multiple blistering, slowing sunburns. The child was also denied adequate water for several of the days. He was required to remain in the summer heat, and he was punished when he secretly consumed water. Part of the abuse included isolation from other people, according to the agreement, and the children had no access to books, notebooks, electronics, or any other form of entertainment. The abuse described was mostly the same for both victims, but one took it more than the other, which is the boy, and that's why he said what he said about, him getting it more than his siblings. In addition, after he tried to run away in July, so he had tried to run away before.
Right.
His hands and feet were regularly bound. Binding including being tied to the defendant and to weights. Many times the binding included using 2 sets of handcuffs, one on his wrists and one on his ankles. At times, while he was lying on his stomach, ropes were used to tie the 2 sets of handcuffs together so that his arms and legs were lifted to the ground, or off the ground, sorry. The bindings resulted in the injuries to his wrists and ankles where the handcuffs cut through the skin and damaged the muscle and the tissue. These injuries were treated with homeopathic remedies and covered with duct tape. Then the bindings were placed on top of the duct tape. The victims endured several emotional harm over the 3 months in which they were being abused. They were arrested. So he ran away on August 30th. This started May 22nd. She and another adult, so her and Jody, regularly sought to indoctrinate the victim and convince him that he was evil and possessed, and that he needed to willingly be obedient to avoid punishments, and that the punishments were necessary to repent. He was also told that everything that was being done to him were acts of love. Similarly, the second victim was told she was evil, that she was possessed, and that the punishments were necessary for her to be obedient and to repent, and that these things were being done to her in order to help her. According to the agreement, the child was convinced of these claims and thought that she had to endure the abuse as part of a repentance process.
Oh my God.
The second victim was also forced to run barefoot on dirt roads for an extended period of time. The feet were repeatedly injured by, and she was repeatedly sunburned when she was examined that day, and the wounds were apparent by scabs, blisters, and sloughing skin. The full plea agreement and the documents containing all of the descriptions of the abuse will be in our show notes if you want to look anything else up or, read any more, because that is a lot of it. It's not the entire thing, but that is a lot of it. So Ruby Franke is scheduled to appear in court on February 20th. Happy birthday to you.
Fuck yeah. I hope she gets fucking life.
All of her 4 felony, she won't, listen. All of her 4 felony counts are punishable from 1 to 15 years in prison consecutively. But of course, with how things work out, good behavior, and with taking the plea deal, the time could be cut to lower, and she could be out even sooner. So 1 to 15 years.
They better give her 60 fucking years. You know what? They should not even have given her a fucking plea deal.
So the plea deal comes from the fact that, of course, she is pointing the finger at Jody Hildebrandt. Jody Hildebrandt did have the kids and did do a lot of the physical abuse as well. Yeah. But I say as well because it's very obvious in that statement that I just read to you that Ruby was a part of it.
Right.
And that she thought she was doing it for a reason, which is fucking bullshit. But so that
they should have capped her ass for fucking attempted murder. She's drowning them and fucking covering their faces.
Yeah. Right there.
Aggravated fucking assault, murder. Like, I mean, come on. Like, attempted murder? Like, that's friggin' ridiculous. You know what? I'm just gonna say 2 words here. Jailhouse justice. And we'll just see what fucking happens. Her ass is probably gonna have to be in protective custody.
I don't see how you would not after that.
She's gonna get fucked. Like, fucked up. Completely.
Yep. You're right. February 20th is coming around. I can't wait to, as much as I don't want to hear any more about any of this, because like I said, I have just gone into everything I can try to go into, which, like I said, there's so much more, and instantly I'm already like to the point where I need to talk more about Jody Hildebrandt, but I need to know what else is going to happen as of that day, right? And it's like, I hope she ends up doing time. A lot of it. She
better do a lot
But
of
I
time.
also hope that during that time, she's not given any rights to her children unless...
100%.
And I say unless because... I mean, I hope that they don't want to talk to her.
Right.
Right? But it's
unless
like,
they come to tell her, fuck off.
Given, yes. I'm just saying, like, I hope that none of it is given where, like, oh... Like, you still have rights. I don't know how all of that works, but they should be stripped away. And unless the kids go through some therapy and all of this, and it's choice that they want to have a conversation,
right?
That's on them. But don't you ever dare trying to reach out to these children.
Right. That better be a stipulation of her, confinement.
Right,
and even more so, if she does get out, which, let's face it, she's a white woman. she probably not, I mean, she's probably going to get out at some point, that a part of her release is that she can't.
No contact.
Like, no contact. I just, you know what, the best birthday present for me would be is that she gets fucking 60 years and she's not allowed out for the rest of her life.
I think she's 41.
So, yeah.
Right now.
Fine, make it 40 years. I don't care. She's not allowed out for the rest of her
and
life.
That's fine.
Like, no.
Yeah. I agree 100%.
Oh, my God.
I agree. You know, I hope as of right now, you know, that the children are getting everything that they deserve, you know? And it's like, maybe for so long you could see this family and think things, you know, weren't that bad, but over time, like, that's heavy, that weighs on you, and it eventually got to be very bad. And I hope that they get all of that love and all of that support and all of that, you know, nurturing that they didn't have during that time. And and there's so much more that in my head I'm like, I could still go off and tell you, and kind of want to tell you more as it's going into my head right now. Yeah, but maybe another time.
I think
that's it. And I just think that as of right now, we're going to wait and see what happens with her thing. You said it, and it's really sad to think that, you know, you're not wrong. This white woman might get off on these charges because of just the fact that. Yep.
We've seen it before. We're going to see it again, you know, where people aren't held accountable for one reason or another.
Yes, ma'am.
I think, Rachel, you bring these difficult cases that are difficult to talk about, but like you said, so very important. So I appreciate that you do that hard work, because, I mean, like you said, you know, we say this on the podcast a lot. If you see something, say something. And it's hard because, you know, you see things and maybe it's in that gray area. But like, one thing we have to remember, especially with psychopaths like this, is that, and like we see it a lot of times in abuse cases where it escalates. It starts as something small. It starts as, I'm going to send them to bed without dinner. And, you know, but that has to be where the person draws their line. And like, if you see this escalating, like we see it in domestic abuse, like between like, you know, a husband and wife all the time. Oh, well, at first he just shoved me, and, you know, it was an accident that I fell into the thing. And the next thing you know, he just slapped my arm. And the next thing you know, he punched me in the face. You know, like these things escalate because the person, the freaking psychopath person, they get more and more comfortable with the abuse, and they're thinking, well, I got away with it. And they're just going to continue to escalate their behavior. And so that's what's so hard. And I can see where like someone would watch like a YouTube like that and be like, ooh, that feels wrong. But there's a lot of things I don't know. Maybe that's where she draws a line. Maybe once she turns the camera off, it's a lot better. She's doing this just for views. And like, that's a rough situation. But like, I think that it just does go to show that, like, you know, we have to, one thing we do have to do is like keep an eye open, especially for children and other people in vulnerable situations. Like, that situation seems a little iffy. I'm going to keep my eye on it. Like, I'm not saying go spy on your neighbors, but just like be aware. Okay, that's the third time this month I've seen that kid outside with, you know, doing hard labor with no shoes. Right? Mm-hmm. It's clear to me, that doesn't look like a kid who's playing out in the summer heat, running through sprinklers, you know, barefoot, having a good time. That is a kid, you know, not having it's one of those things where you just have to keep an eye on it, because shit like that escalates, and sometimes very fucking quickly. Oh, yes. I got to take a breath.
Yeah. So there you guys have it. that is what is going on with that situation. Yeah. And, you know, I do think I might just dive into Jodi Hildebrandt a little bit more at some point too, because while researching all of this, like, one of the things is this is not her first time.
Right.
And Jodi Hildebrandt's niece actually came forward. And she's already been vocal about Jodi.
Yeah.
But when this came out, I watched an interview with her. Her name is Jessie Hildebrandt. And she talks about, and it's a struggle. It's hard for her, but she talks about how it brought her back to the pain and the trauma from when Jodi did this to her. And there's so much more. So I will have to dive in.
I think it's important to talk about that because that's something that people need to be aware of when it comes to just people out there willing to put on a face that I'm here to help you. It's cult. It's 100%. Here you go. I'm going to help you. I'm going to change your life. Da 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 da. And now now we're going to, 100%. Like what you said is valid. And that's, and it's, Jodi Hildebrandt is a leader of a cult-like situation where she is all about that power and control of other people. And apparently their kids, which is just, like,
sick and fucking twisted and all of that. Yep. All right, we could ramble forever. You guys don't need that.
Oh my gosh, you're right. Yeah. You know what? But I will say again, Rachel, thank you for, you do a really good job of telling the details of a case and the relevant information, and doing it in a way that, it's fucking hard to do and it takes a lot and you do it well. And I think it's an important thing to talk about for sure. So
thanks, Boo. Thanks, Boo. Well, if you guys made it this far, we love you guys. And hopefully, you guys just stay strong because life can be hard. And hearing this can be hard and it can be heavy and it can hurt your little mom hearts.
Yep.
And
I know it hurts mine.
And I know that, it hurts mine too. And we talk about it for a reason. Like I said earlier, we need to make things like this aware and bring them to people's attention because unfortunately, we have a lot of people who are very naive and a lot of people who are just very, like, absent-minded on very big, tough situations.
For sure.
And,
like, it needs to be known that this kind of stuff happens so that it doesn't repeat itself.
So we can try to help prevent it moving forward. Exactly. Alrighty, you guys. So that is it. That is it about this craziness. February 20th. We'll be figuring that out. Happy birthday to Heather, like we said. I'll be spending my day saying happy birthday to you, but also ignoring you. And
don't. We'll say it and then also keep me updated on, like, what the heck, because you're really good at getting the
sounds good
on the minute updates.
Yep, I like that part. All right, we'll talk to you guys next week with another episode of Like Mother Like Murder. Talk to you guys then. Okay, love you, bye.
Okay, love you, bye.
Okay, love you, bye. Don't be a dumb bitch like Ruby Franke and Jodi Hildebrandt.
For real, protect your peace and stay away from cults. Yeah.
Fuck them cults.
right, I think I hacked in. We're on the air? Shh, security's outside. But how's my hair? It's a radio station. Psst, psst. You guys hear about the Beyond the Shadows podcast with Ryan and Scott? You guys into paranormal? What about true crime? How about UFOs and cryptids? We also have mad hauntings. We got security. No, we don't. We're not big enough to need it yet. No, we got security.
Hey, what are you guys doing? Get out of here! Listen to the Beyond the Shadows podcast. Beyond the Shadows!